Welcome to the Ben Tea House. This is your host Ben. Do you remember the promise from last year? I said that before the college entrance examination, I would share a story related to the exam with you all. I had actually forgotten about it, but thankfully a student reminded me. Well, tomorrow, you senior year students are about to face a major battle in life. It's time to take the donkeys out for a walk and see if any are horses, right? I suppose your minds aren't on revision right now, so let me tell you a little story to help alleviate some pressure, so you can go into battle tomorrow refreshed. I wish everyone invincibility in advance. Now, let's get back to the main topic. This story took place in the summer, just a few days before the college entrance exam. All the mock exams and themed class meetings had been held, and it was time for the final sprint. At this crucial moment, you would notice a variety of mentalities among students. Some were seizing every second to review in these precious last moments. Others were extremely cautious, almost afraid to eat or drink anything for fear of falling ill on exam day. Some even began eating healthily 3 days in advance, understandable to stave off illness, but to the uninformed, it might seem like they discovered new land. Then there were those who had given up on their books and were waiting peacefully for the exam, like an old monk in meditation. These are all normal behaviors. However, there were also anomalies, those whose academic performance was poor. The wealthy ones might opt to self-fund a spot in a lower-tier university, while those with fewer resources might settle for a community college. This group of students had already entered a pre-exam celebratory state. Today's story is about the personal experience of a poor student, whom we'll call Xiaojie. 1 week before the college entrance exam, after attending the last class, seniors were given time off to prepare for the coming tests. In the 2 days following school's end, most students, whether top achievers or not, chose to unwind. Yet, as the exam drew closer, there were fewer indulging in play. 3 days before the exam, those still staying up all night in internet cafes gaming had likely abandoned all hope. Xiaojie was one of them. Idling was his norm. If you asked him to study, he wouldn't be able to focus on a single word in the books. Today is the last day before the college entrance exam, and likely many students are nervous. It's said that you can go back to school early to familiarize yourself with tomorrow's exam setting, which might be really helpful. But the lively scenes will probably have to wait until tomorrow. This morning, Xiaojie also got on a bus heading to the school, ready to scout out the examination site that he'll soon be contending in. Upon arriving at the school, Xiaojie found that it wasn't the bustling scene he had imagined. There were people scattered around, mostly accompanied by their parents. He wandered around the campus for a bit, not finding anything particularly new or interesting, and decided to leave. As he turned to go, he noticed the food and miscellaneous store across from the school had its doors wide open. This store used to be quite sizable, selling snacks and stationery, and even providing meal services. But business had been bad in the recent years, and the shop had been closed for a while. The whereabouts of the lady owner and her daughter were unknown. Now, just the owner was left to single-handedly run the place, and the large room was empty except for the small food and miscellaneous goods business. Xiaojie, a typical underachiever, often came here to chat and waste time with a crowd of others. Today, out of boredom and finding the store still open, he went in to buy a pack of cigarettes and ended up chatting with old Zhao. Old Zhao asked, "Kid, if I remember correctly, you're a senior this year, right?" "Yeah. How's the revision going?" Xiaojie replied, "You don't get me, I'm just like that. If I do well on the exam, I'll find a fun place to enjoy myself, if not, then it's off to work for me." A hint of regret flashed across old Zhao's face, but he held back from saying more. Sensing old Zhao's demeanor, Xiaojie asked, "Uncle, what's up?" Suddenly, old Zhao offered, "Kid, what if I tell you the questions for tomorrow's exams, do you want them?" Xiaojie was taken aback. "What are you saying?" Old Zhao pulled out a stack of papers from under the counter. It wasn't titled, but it clearly had Chinese exam questions, and the answers to the multiple choice questions were all filled in. "Everything but the essay has answers," added old Zhao. Xiaojie took the papers incredulously, asking, "Uncle, is this a practice test or what?" Old Zhao calmly replied, "These are this year's exam papers." Xiaojie took the papers with a grin, not understanding how Uncle Zhao could have such a thing. He sat smoking and gazing at the distant school buildings while old Zhao seemed lost in thought. With time to spare and the papers in hand, Xiaojie called his friends to meet up for some online gaming at the internet cafe. The next day was the exam, and those who could still come out to game were undoubtedly the underachievers among underachievers. They were a group of 5, and they played League of Legends together. That was how Xiaojie and his friends spent the last night before their exams, each with their own life and each with their own attitudes. As for tomorrow, time would have the answers ready for each of them. Today, as the final day before the college entrance examination drew to a close, Xiaojie and his friends had been in the internet cafe from morning until 8 at night, losing one game after another. Xiaojie exclaimed in frustration, "How can you guys be so bad? I'll take top lane this game." His friends were beside themselves with anger. "You take top? You can barely climb into bed, let alone play in top lane. Let's stop playing. We have the college entrance exam tomorrow. We've already paid the registration fee, wouldn't it be a waste not to go? Right, let's head home." Remembering something, Xiaojie added, "Yeah, let's pack up and head back." Walking down from the internet cafe, there was a lottery station just below, next to a place likely providing services for wedding photography or similar services. Xiaojie casually tossed a few coins into the lottery station and then thought of the test questions that old Zhao had given him in the morning. On a whim, he took the set of questions to photocopy them 4 times and distributed them to his friends. "What is this?" they curiously asked. Xiaojie teased them saying, "Scaring you to death here, I bought this year's real exam questions for 100,000 yuan. His friends each took a copy home, not taking his jest seriously. Yet, even as poor students, facing the significant event of the college entrance exam, it was inevitable to feel a bit uneasy. Tomorrow they would enter the examination hall, and setting aside everything else, just the thought of parting ways with classmates who had struggled and cared for one another for 3 years was enough to keep them awake at night. Xiaojie tossed and turned in bed, unable ultimately to fall asleep. The papers were still there, and perhaps out of boredom, they decided to glance over the supposedly real examination. Since they couldn't sleep anyway, the answers for the Chinese language section seemed like a novel, and were easier to remember. The next morning, carrying the necessary IDs, they made their way to the examination site. At the exam center, before handing out the test papers, the proctor concisely explained the rules of the exam. However, the moment Xiaojie received his papers, he was stunned. The content was identical to what he had memorized the night before. Was this a chance given by fate for a fresh start? Memories of the previous night swirled in his mind. Even the essay question was something he had seen plenty of references to online. It all felt too unreal to be this lucky. After the end of the exam, Xiaojie was left feeling confused and skeptical. While still trying to make sense of it all, his friends, who had freed themselves from their obligations and felt fortunate for having seen the exam questions in advance, approached him. They asked Xiaojie what had happened, and he had to repeat the story from last night. "I bought them for 100,000 yuan. Believe it now? Anyway, pay me back the 10 bucks you owe me first." Such a ridiculous turn of events formed bubbles in their hearts, and they decided to revisit old Zhao, the one who had helped them unintentionally. Returning to the miscellaneous store, old Zhao still sat behind the counter, everything unchanged. The students entered the humble shop, and their restless hearts began to settle. Old Zhao just sat there silently, as if awaiting something. Xiaojie led the group into the store, and upon seeing them, old Zhao greeted them with a warm smile. "How was it? Did the exam go well?" The students looked at each other. No one spoke up immediately, creating an awkward silence. Then Xiaojie spoke. "Even though we don't study much, to be honest, I still hope to get into a good university at home, to make my family proud." The others, realizing late, also chimed in expressing their reasons for not making progress. Each had their own little grievances. One said it was because his family always mocked him for being dumb. Another complained of being overshadowed by a too successful sister. After listening to them, old Zhao asked, "What's the subject in the afternoon?" "Math," Xiaojie replied. Old Zhao then took out another stack of papers. "Here are the mathematics questions for the afternoon, take them." While they were discussing, Xiaojie interjected, "Uncle, you know I'm a science student, right?" They were all pleasantly surprised as they took the papers, feeling grateful as they hurried off. Old Zhao suddenly reminded everyone, "Don't just keep the advantage to yourselves, share this opportunity with friends who are good at playing, gather 10 people, and come back here after the afternoon exams to collect the Chinese and comprehensive science papers." Voices of gratitude rose up, promising that even 100 people could be gathered, or even more. Old Zhao smiled and said, "That's right to come." By then, students had slowly started passing by the shop to buy water or take a short break. The examinees didn't say much more, just took their papers and left. Xiaojie and his friends, although considered underachievers, had extensive connections. They immediately began to act, each finding their well-connected friends, and secretly shared this material. When asked, "What is this?" they simply said, "Trust me, whether it's real or fake, at least it points us in a direction." After the afternoon exam, the group of underachievers were all riding a wave of excitement. The papers Xiaojie had brought were exactly the same as the actual exam again. They all couldn't help but flock to the miscellaneous store, now crowded with a dozen tables. Old Zhao was ready, almost transformed into an invigilator, handing out papers one by one. 30 or 40 sets of papers were quickly distributed, and the place fell silent. Everyone was curious how old Zhao could have gotten the exam papers. Although full of doubts, it seemed inappropriate to ask at this time. The uncertainties in their hearts, mingled with the joy of the papers coming into their hands, created a strange and indescribable atmosphere. After distributing the papers, old Zhao told everyone, "Go home and review well tonight, and after tomorrow morning's subjects, come here to get the English exam questions. This is the rule, I won't refuse anyone. Now, I have to go to sleep. Go home and review, take care." There was a buzz among the crowd. Some students began to motivate themselves, as if top universities like 985 and 211 were within easy reach. Even Peking University and Tsinghua University didn't seem too far off. Yet, some were quietly discussing amidst the throng, what if there are too many people? Wouldn't it be troublesome if we were found out? Indeed, their concerns were reasonable. Since they already had the exam papers, they should review them well that night and stay alert. But most thought, how could such a good thing be real? Who could believe this? They were all too familiar with real exam questions from 5 years of the college entrance exam and 3 years of mock tests. However, what happened the next day left everyone astounded. At Xiaojie's exam site, the speed of handing in the papers was unusually fast. It was the climax of the college entrance exam with the 3 main subjects: Chinese, Math, and English, and by the last day's English exam, they found an unusually small number of students in the examination halls. Yes, there were always latecomers every year, but this year, it seemed there were particularly many. The proctors and floor supervisors hurried to report, over 100 students had not shown up? This was a big deal. And a rush, fire services, traffic police, and broadcasts all initiated a search for the missing students. The broadcast began an all-city search for those who hadn't arrived at the test center. The English exam at the #1 high school is about to begin, but many candidates have not yet arrived. If you are en route, please give way to the students in a hurry. Every candidate for the college entrance exam knows the rules are ironclad. Arrive 15 minutes late, and you can't enter, especially for the English exam, which includes a listening section and requires an even earlier arrival. Why were such a large number of students so calm today? Are their hearts truly that big? What sort of story lies hidden behind this? People waited in apprehension and bewilderment, with all sorts of speculations abounding. During the college entrance exam day, amid the tense and solemn atmosphere, an unexpected event suddenly broke the calm. About 10 minutes into the exam, cries of alarm from parents were heard outside the school. Thick black smoke poured out of a shop across from the school, followed by terrifying cries for help. It was noticed that there seemed to be students trapped inside. At this moment, chaos erupted outside the school. The parents were desperately looking for a way to open the rolling door, which was jammed due to the high temperature. Suddenly, people outside started shouting in panic, "Fire!" The firefighters arrived, and after emergency rescue efforts, they finally opened the door. To everyone's shock, the students who hadn't made it to the exam hall were all trapped inside the small shop. Xiaojie, after urgent rescue efforts, was fortunate to have survived, and he revealed the truth about what happened. It turned out that, after the exam that morning, through Xiaojie, about 60 to 70 people had received the so-called test papers. They planned to come directly after the exam to collect the final set of papers, but they found the shop closed upon arrival, which puzzled everyone. As they waited anxiously, the crowd grew larger as news leaked out. By 1:30 p.m., approximately 100 people had gathered outside, all eager to get the last set of papers. Suddenly, the door opened, and old Zhao's voice came out, "Come in, everyone." Over 100 students entered, and the door slowly lowered, leaving the room dimly lit. It took a moment for people's eyes to adjust to the change in light. Then, the projector was turned on, and a picture of a young girl appeared on the wall. Old Zhao's voice rang out again, "Her name is Zhao Jia. She's my daughter." In such an unexpected and urgent situation, everyone realized they were in an unpredictable predicament. The lives of the children and a critical moment in the exam suddenly intertwined, rendering all schemes and planning meaningless at that moment. The only thing left was an acute concern for the safety of life. And the truth that Xiaojie brought forth would soon reveal a more complex story behind this disaster: a family's sorrow, a father's despair, and an unrecognized plot during the college entrance examination season. 3 years ago, we had a happy family. We left the countryside solely for our daughter Xiaojie, so she could attend school in the city and get into a good university. We opened a small store in the city. Life was simple but full of hope. However, fate played its cruel hand. Our daughter failed her exam, and that unexpected disappointment struck us hard. After the results were announced, Xiaojie chose to commit suicide by jumping from a building. The freshman girl who died was my daughter. Following that, my wife couldn't bear the blow either, and with the failure of one exam, our once happy family disintegrated instantly. You might say that all this mess isn't your fault, and yes, I don't blame you. I blame those villains who disregarded the law, those who manipulated fairness with their money and power. Looking at the projection on the wall, the photo changed again. Now it was me, old Zhao, with a knife in one hand and a head in the other. Living no longer held meaning for me, and those were the culprits who manipulated substitute exam taking and the buying and selling of test questions. If I killed them, could I take my revenge? No, it wasn't nearly enough. I could kill a scoundrel, but I couldn't kill all those corrupt officials. I couldn't save those children who lost their opportunities because of them. Today, you all wanted something for nothing, to easily possess the resources of others. But where in the world do you get such a bargain? Today, let your lives become the earth-shattering price to pay. As old Zhao's words ended, he had already picked up a lighter and ignited the gasoline drums arranged in the room. 100 lives hung in peril. In this moment, education was no longer the light of wisdom. It had become a colossal shadow. Education was once the ladder for students from modest backgrounds to change their fate and climb the social hierarchy, yet some were so greedy that they manipulated from behind the scenes, monopolizing the opportunity for education. Tonight's story is heavy, it's fictional, but I hope that every examinee can compete in a fair venue, with a steadfast heart, to win their future. This is my sincere wish, and I hope you all appreciate it.